Alright guys, we are going to talk about Intro to Solving Quadratics today, and we're going to talk about solutions. We started last unit on solving, and we talked about the x-intercepts, the zeros, the roots, the solutions, where the graph crosses the x-axis. Okay, so we have three different ways this happens. It can cross it 2 times like here, 1 time, or sometimes it doesn't cross it at all. Okay, so this graph has 2 solutions. Okay, in those 2 solutions, you can see the word solutions. You may see zeros, x-intercepts, so those are words that you could see. Roots, that's another word. Okay, so in this solution, you'll notice that here, that's about x is equal to 1/2, and then this one, -2.5. Now, we'll be able to know exactly what those are when we're solving. We're just estimating right now based on the points. Okay, so this graph, notice it only hits the x-axis 1 time, so it has 1 solution, 1, 2, 3, at x equals 3 right here. Okay, here the graph does not have any x-intercepts or solutions because it does not cross. This means the solutions are not real numbers, okay? And we'll be talking about complex numbers, but that means that here we could not solve for these by factoring because they're not real solutions. So the discriminant, if you remember, the discriminant is b squared minus 4ac. So the discriminant, we use the formula b squared minus 4ac. And that is called the discriminant. Okay, it tells us how many solutions. It does not give us the solutions, but how many solutions you will get from a quadratic equation and what type of solutions, whether they're real or not real. Okay, so if I took numbers and plugged them in here and I came out with a positive answer, greater than 0. So if it's positive answers, I'm going to have 2 real roots. Okay, and I can see those roots in the graph that we just talked about there. Okay, if it equals 0, okay, so if the discriminant equals 0, then I know that I'm going to have 1 real root. Okay, if it is negative, so it's less than 0, there's going to be no real roots. They're going to be complex or imaginary numbers. Solutions, okay? So notice it does not cross the x-axis at all here. Okay, your next one here we're going to actually use that discriminant formula, b squared minus 4ac. You will need to know that. We're going to use it to find out if there's some roots, real roots, and how many. So first thing we have to do is get it equal to 0, okay, just like we did when we solved. So we're going to add 1 to both sides. So we get 3x squared minus 4x plus 1 equals 0. So you want to get everything equal to 0. Then you're going to label your a, your b, and your c. So a is 3, because remember a is with x squared, b is -4, don't forget the sign with the number, and c is 1. So we're going to take these coefficients and constant and plug it into our formula. So we're going to have b squared minus 4 times a times c. Don't forget, if you put this in your calculator, you have to put parentheses around that negative to square the negative. Sometimes we don't do that, and that gives us an incorrect answer. So this would be 16. 4 times 3 is 12, times 1 is 12, so 4. So is 4 positive, negative, or equal to 0? 4 is positive, so that's going to tell me I'm going to have 2 real solutions. Now 4 is not a solution 4 is the discriminant, and that allows me to know that there's 2 real solutions. And also, if I were graphing this, I know it would cross the x-axis 2 times. So I could go in here and I could solve this by factoring because I know there's 2 real solutions. Okay, so here, if I'm looking at this, first of all, it's in standard form. It's equal to 0, so I'm good to go there. My A equals 2. My B equals -12, and my C equals 18. I'm going to plug that into the formula. I have -12 squared minus 4 times 2 times 18. So -12 squared is 144, and 4 times 2 is 8 times 18 is positive 144. 144 minus 144 is 0. So this one equals 0. The discriminant equals 0. So I know I have 1 real solution. And if I was doing a rough sketch just to kind of say what's happening here, I know it would go and it would touch the x-axis 1 time. Okay? So 1 real, 2 real. I know that I could factor this also, and then I would be able to get my solution there. And if I can't factor, we'll talk about what we do when we can't factor later there. Okay? So that's something that we'll be talking about soon. All right, so here it's equal to 0, so A is going to equal 2, B is going to equal 3, C is going to equal 3. So I'm taking it, plugging it into the equation. I get 3 squared minus 4 times 2 times 3. 3 squared is 9. 4 times 2 is 8 times 3 is 24. And then 9 minus 24 is -15. So my discriminant is -15. That tells me I'm going to have 0 real solutions. My answer is going to be an imaginary or complex number. If I were graphing this, I know it would hang out up here above the x-axis. It would never cross it. All right, so you're going to have some practice problems. Thanks for joining.